Barack Obama the
Thank
commie.
you so much.
My goodness, what
I'm
we
going
have
to
I'm not even
read to you guys the key provision of the resolution that Ike Leggett characterized as, quote, a dagger pointed directly at the heart of Montgomery County. This is what that resolution said, that is this dagger. The County Council urges the U.S. Congress to make major reductions in the Pentagon budget in a manner that does not harm the safety or lives of our troops, with the savings invested in state and local needs so that Montgomery County and other counties in Maryland can repair their deteriorating infrastructure, reverse budget cuts to education, healthcare, and other needs, and otherwise improve the welfare of their residents. This is a dagger pointed at our heart. In fact, this simple statement represents the majority opinion of the people in this country and in this county. And why is Lockheed Martin so fearful of this non-binding resolution that they pulled out all the stops to prevent it from coming to a vote? This is a company that has made immense amounts of money off of the wars of the last decade, and I think they want to continue doing so. And as you all know, almost all of their profits are derived from U.S. taxpayers, from you and me. Lockheed Martin is more or less a wholly owned subsidiary of the U.S. government. And yet in 2009, according to Forbes, the total compensation of Lockheed Martin's CEO was $43 million. That's your taxes at work. $43 million for this CEO. FDR called such corporations war profiteers in the 1940s. But today, our politicians are afraid to call a spade a spade. They're more willing to do the bidding of Lockheed Martin. They capitulate when a lobbyist from Lockheed Martin calls them up and says, don't vote for this resolution, even though it's a perfectly sensible and reasonable, and more than that, necessary if we are ever to get our fiscal house in order in this country. In my view, this is a suppression of democracy. It is money interests controlling our political discourse. It is behind-the-scenes lobbying from an extraordinarily wealthy corporation, one that in 2009 spent over $15 million on lobbying money that they ultimately got from us. They use our own money to work against our interests and to control the public discourse. Do you think this is corrupt?
No.
The question of how much we should spend as a nation on the military is one for democratic consideration and debate. It's not something that should be decided by highly paid lobbyists behind closed doors. Last week, the Examiner quoted people who said that it's a bad idea to try to change our nation's priorities because if we did so, some jobs might be lost. In fact, with the same amount of federal spending, considerably more jobs can be created in non-military sectors than through military contractors. Right. This was proven in a recent analysis at the University of Massachusetts. So yes, we need a national jobs policy. And yes, we need the federal government to stimulate the economy and create jobs, a lot of them. But we need those jobs to be ones that can provide utility to us as a nation and a community. We need jobs in clean energy, infrastructure improvements, transportation. We need jobs in education and healthcare. We need fully funded libraries and good parks. What we don't need are Cold War era weapon systems that do not contribute to our safety and do not bring us any economic benefit. What we don't need are massive armaments that tempt our policymakers to use them in so-called wars of choice, wars that in fact are bankrupting our nation. We can shift away from excessive military spending and towards human and community needs, and we can do so with an economic conversion program that holds harmless the workers that are employed by military contractors and the communities that are dependent on them. But we must cease defending a policy of massive Pentagon spending simply in order to protect existing jobs. Let's spend that same amount of money in ways that bring benefit to us and our community rather than destruction to others. So I'm going to say, vote, and you say for peace, and we'll send a message to the county council. Vote
For peace!
Vote
For peace!
Vote
For peace!
Vote
For peace!